Welcome back to this week's ARTFX Tutorial Tuesday, in which I teach you how to make electronic music with Ableton Live. I highly recommend watching this video in 1080p, so you got a clear view of what I'm doing. Last week I showed you how I improved the intro with some white noise effects we made in Operator. Today I'm going to show you how to add some crashes to the start of each section of the intro, and how to enhance this crash with a delay. So here we are back again with my project from last week, and I want something more on this beginning of the vocal intro. So I'm going to use a crash sample from the Thomas Penton Essentials series available on the Loopmaster's website. You can find the link to the product page in the description box below. So I think this Crash 13 will work very well, so I drag it below all my tracks and it automatically creates a new audio track. Let's drag this in our FX folder and lower the volume so we don't hurt our ears. Let's see how that sounds. Okay, so because of our sidechain compressor, we lose all the impact of this crash. So let's take this out of the effects group, and then I group it in its own group track. I call this group track FX, and rename the other group track to FX sidechain. I also include the hashtag symbol, which is automatically replaced with the track number. So, I want to show you something very important with all crashes, hi-hats, rides, synths, and other high-frequency elements you might add to your track. I need a spectrum analyzer to show you this. So I drag the spectrum from Live's device browser to my track. Most high-frequency sounds still contain low frequencies, although you might not hear them. It's the best to take them all out with a filter or an EQ so it doesn't muddy up your mix. So if I now play this crash, you can clearly see it has a lot of frequencies going on below the 100 Hz mark. Even when you can't hear it, it might still be there. So I'm saying that even a hi-hat sample might contain sub-bass. And to make sure you don't get problems between these sounds and the actual sub-bass layer of your bass lines, you have to remove these sub-frequencies from all sounds other than the sub-bass. So let's show you how I do this. I drag an instance of EQ8 to the track with the crash sample on it, and I select EQ point 1. This point is set to 100 Hz by default, so now we can activate the low cut setting by clicking this little button. Now everything below the frequency this point is set to will be cut out of a final sound. So by activating this low cut option, we've now already removed the sub-bass from the sample, but I can raise this to about 4000 Hz, since most frequencies below that are not very audible in a crash sample. Now if I play this, it shouldn't sound much different from before, since this technique is not going to drastically change your sound. It just removes some of the unwanted frequencies. Sometimes I find the Ableton EQ curve might be a little too gentle. So we can make this a more steeper curve by adding another EQ point at a frequency close to or the same as the other one, and then also setting this one to the low cut setting. See how the line just got a steeper curve? Now, you can do the exact same thing with the autofilter plugin. So to show you that, I drag an instance of autofilter to my crash track and bypass the EQ for now. We set the autofilter to the high pass setting and set the frequency to somewhere around 4000 Hz. Now, one thing I forgot was to put the spectrum on the end of the chain, so we can see that all the low frequencies are being taken out. So I drag it to the end of the chain, and now keep a close eye on the low frequencies when I play this crash sample. They are all gone. Great. Now, if I activate the EQ8 again and bypass the autofilter, you should have a almost identical sound and frequency spectrum curve, since I've just showed you how to do the same thing with two different devices. Now I choose which I like the best and get rid of the other option. In this case, I'll keep the auto filter and get rid of the EQ8 and spectrum devices. Now we have a nice crash sample with absolutely no low frequencies in it. Next I drop an instance of ping pong delay on the crash. Now the delay device will give this crash a much longer tail, which fades out during the intro and then the crash hits again at the start of the next part. Now, I like this to be a very drastic cymbal effect, so I start by cutting off the reverb tail of this crash sample. I just zoom in like this and cut this away by selecting the area I don't need and then pressing delete on my keyboard. Okay, so it's still too long, so I select another piece of it and press delete again. Now I'm left with just the start of this crash sample, which in music production is called the attack. Okay, so now the delay effect is not that clear, and it fades out pretty fast, so to bring this delay more up, I put on a compressor preset called mildly aggressive after the ping pong delay, and then I start lowering the threshold until I'm happy with the result. One thing though, since we heavily compressed the delayed crash sound, it might have brought some of those low frequencies back up again, which we don't want, so let's add another EQ8 after the compressor. Also, I adjust this frequency XY screen in the ping pong delay so it affects the higher frequencies in the delay effect. Okay, so in the EQ8 the only thing I do is set the first point to a low cut setting and raise the frequency knob a little, just to make sure there's absolutely no sub-bass in this, even after the compressor might have brought them back up again. So now I can just play around a bit with the timing settings in the ping pong delay to make a little bit more interesting delay effect. I think that 6 or 8 works very well for this project, so let's listen to how that sounds. Actually, I think that this delay effect is a bit too stereo for this kind of project. So let's replace the ping pong delay with the simple delay. The simple delay does the same thing as the other delays, but without the delayed signal jumping from the left to the right speaker. So if I now put the dry wet and feedback dials to about the same position, and then press play, you can hear that this delay sounds a lot more fluid and blends in a lot better with the background. So, I like it when the cymbal is very short, followed by the echo on the beat. Sounds very rhythmical to me. Okay, so this was it for this week's ARTFX Tutorial Tuesday. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you've got a question, don't be afraid to put a comment below or go to my Facebook page and put a comment up there. Now, if you want to keep up to date with the news about ARTFX Tutorial Tuesday, just simply subscribe or like my Facebook page. See you next week.
No.